Join me as we explore the powerful stories and timeless wisdom found in each book of the New Testament. Welcome to the first book of the New Testament, the book of Matthew. It's the first gospel you'll encounter. Matthew, also known as Levi, was a tax collector turned disciple of Jesus. Now, tax collectors back in the day weren't exactly fan favorites. But when Jesus called Matthew to follow him, Matthew didn't hesitate. This book is a testament to transformation. It's all about showing that Jesus is the long-awaited Messiah prophesied in the Old Testament, the King of the Jews. Matthew connects the dots between Jesus' life and the prophecies, highlighting that everything that happened was in God's divine plan. It's a book of fulfilled prophecy, teaching, and action. And of course, it's all about the kingdom of heaven and how we're invited to be part of it. Now, let's break down what you'll find chapter by chapter in this epic book. Chapter 1. The genealogy and birth of Jesus. It starts with a family tree, a big one. Matthew traces Jesus' lineage all the way back to Abraham to prove Jesus is the promised heir. And then, Jesus is born to Mary. And the angel's message? He's here to save us from sin. Chapter 2. The visit of the Magi and escape to Egypt. The Magi bring gifts, but Herod has other plans. Jesus' family has to flee to Egypt, proof that God's got his hand on everything, even when life feels uncertain. Chapter 3. John the Baptist and the baptism of Jesus. John's out in the wilderness, preparing the way for Jesus. And then, Jesus gets baptized. He's identified as the Son of God. Cue the heavenly affirmation, "This is my Son, whom I love." Chapter 4. The temptation of Jesus and beginning of his ministry. Jesus heads into the wilderness, where the devil tries to tempt him. Calling his first disciples. Get ready for some teaching and healing miracles. Chapter 5 to 7. The Sermon on the Mount. This is the heart of Jesus' teachings. The Beatitudes, the Lord's Prayer, forgiveness, and love. This is how the kingdom of heaven works. Humble and filled with grace. Chapter 8 to 9. Miracles, healings, and calls to discipleship. We're talking healings, demons cast out, and a storm calmed. Chapter 10. The sending out of the 12. Jesus gathers his disciples, sends them out, and tells them to preach, heal, and spread his message. Chapter 11 to 12. Teachings, rejection, and controversies. Chapter 13. The parables of the kingdom. Jesus teaches in parables. Why? Because he wants us to think deeply about his message. This chapter includes the parable of the sower, the weeds, and the mustard seed. Chapter 14 to 15. More miracles and teachings. You've got feeding thousands with just 5 loaves and 2 fish, walking on water, and more healing. And Jesus teaches about what truly defiles a person. Chapter 16. Peter's confession, and Jesus predicts his death. Peter declares Jesus is the Messiah, a big moment. But then, he's going to suffer and die. Chapter 17. The Transfiguration. Jesus shows his glory in front of Peter, James, and John. Elijah and Moses appear. Chapter 18. Teachings on humility, forgiveness, and church life. Here we dive deep into how to live in community, with an emphasis on forgiveness and humility. Jesus teaches that small things matter in the kingdom of heaven. Chapter 19 to 20. Teachings on marriage, riches, and the parable of the workers in the vineyard. What's more important, earthly riches or heavenly rewards? Jesus challenges the disciples' thinking, urging them to choose the kingdom over worldly wealth. Chapter 21 to 23. The triumphal entry, cleansing the temple, and more teaching. Jesus enters Jerusalem like a king, but he's not here for the usual royal treatment. He cleanses the temple, exposes the hypocrisy of religious leaders, and challenges everyone to rethink their faith. Chapter 24 to 25, the Olivet Discourse and of Judgment. Jesus predicts the fall of Jerusalem and shares powerful teachings on the end times. He uses parables to teach about readiness and judgment. Don't miss the lesson on the 10 virgins and the talents. Chapter 26 to 27, the Passion Narrative, the betrayal, the trial, the crucifixion. Jesus suffers for our sins, fulfilling his mission. It's heartbreaking, but it's all part of the plan. Chapter 28, the Resurrection and Great Commission. The stone is rolled away, and Jesus rises from the dead. He appears to the women and then to his disciples, giving them the Great Commission, to go and make disciples of all nations. The end of the book? A new beginning for all of us. And that's Matthew. The story of Jesus, from prophecy to resurrection. A journey through teachings, miracles, and deep lessons about the kingdom of heaven. Let's explore it together. Matthew's story isn't just ancient history. It's a message for today. The King is here, and his kingdom is now.